Hello, you're watching the news from Kazakhstan. I'm Askar Sheraliyev, and these are the top stories. President Nursultan Nazarbayev opens a number of industrial enterprises across Kazakhstan. Analysts claim Kazakh civil society is underdeveloped and is only concerned about self-gain. A limousine parade. Almaty residents are urged to marry and raise the birth rate of the country. Over 150 industrial projects worth a total of $6 billion of investment have been launched in Kazakhstan. All of them were presented to Nursultan Nazarbayev on Tuesday by the Vice Prime Minister Aset Isekeshev during a teleconference in Astana. The key facilities include the Beynel-Bozoy gas pipeline in South Kazakhstan, the baby formula factory in the Almaty region, and the Cooper plant in the east of the country. Prime Minister Karim Asimov reported to the President about the progress of the industrialization and promised Nazarbayev to keep the current pace. In turn, the President criticized the governor of the Atrau region, Bergey Rizkaliyev, for failures in his implementation of the state program on the industrial and innovation development. Nazarbayev didn't like the region leadership focusing exclusively on projects in the oil and gas industry. The governor of the Akmola region was also berated for his lack of knowledge of the local macroeconomic data.
The report of the cabinet had sounded more like the list of Nazarbayev's achievements. The praise was present almost in each of Masimov's sentences. The Prime Minister assured the leader of the nation that the launch of the industrialization facilities will create more than 160,000 new workplaces. The Business Roadmap 2020 will be updated next year with the emphasis on specialist trainings. The authorities intend to develop the business potential of the country in the educational institutions and production sites. Masimov said that with Nazarbayev's support this year, the cabinet approved over 500 projects for small and middle-scale businesses. At the end of his speech, Masimov called to support Kazakh producers, saying that all of the necessary changes into the legislation for its development have been made already. Thanks to the efforts of the authorities and MPs, the share of domestic enterprises and purchases made up more than 70%. This year we have achieved all the goals set by our leader of the nation. We have a precise plan for the next year, and let me assure you that the government, together with local administrators, enterprises and MPs, will not let loose the pace.
During the project's presentation, the Vice Prime Minister Aset Isekeshev was seated next to Nursultan Nazarbayev. This was noted by journalists and political scientists who call Isekeshev a potential successor to the head of state. Analysts explained their assumptions with the recent public political activity and functions granted to Isekeshev. The skyrocketing political career took off just 2 years ago when the official became Nazarbayev's advisor.
On Tuesday, Astana hosted an event already called by some observers the finest hour of the Vice Prime Minister Aset Isekeshev. He was entrusted with presenting major facilities to Nursultan Nazarbayev. The importance of this is significant not with billions of dollars allocated for the facilities creation, but rather with a political figure chosen as the person responsible. A day prior, Isekeshev had a personal meeting with the head of state in his private residence. Officially, the vice premier informed the president about the implementation of the Industrial Innovation Development Program in Kazakhstan. The real topics discussed by the nation's leader and one of the less public but more loyal politicians are not known. The press service supplied only video with the sound. Political scientists, though, still get the message. The main thing to consider is that Aset Isekeshev is one of the key possible candidates for the Prime Minister's chair. The increase in power that we're witnessing in the last few years is the attempt to test him in as many projects as possible in the shortest period of time. The expert believes this test is needed not to install Isekeshev as the cabinet head, but in fact only a step of the possible political growth with another long-range goal. It is possible the young politician is trained to become the president's successor. It seems that even the family of the head of state knows about this. Daughter Dariga Nazarbayeva, who also used to be a possible candidate, made ambiguous comments even 5 years ago. First of all, I never look far into the future. Secondly, I wish good health to the president. As for the successor, I think the head of state will have to determine that. Perhaps we don't see this politician in the president's entourage just yet. We will have to wait and see. Political scientists say the previously vague figure is now taking shape. At 39, Aseta Sekeshov made a spectacular career, rising from a deputy prosecutor to vice prime minister. 2 years ago, Sekeshov worked in the head of state's inner circle as an advisor. 3 months ago, as any respected functional bureaucrat, he was entrusted with the chairing the country's chess federation. The next move will depend on the king, who still sees all other players as simple pawns.
The main result of Kazakhstan's chairmanship in the OSCE is nothing more but the preservation of already existing negotiation formats. The statement was made on Tuesday by the Foreign Ministry's OSCE department head Sirjan Abdukarimov.
Apparently, the failure to come up with the action plan doesn't belittle the political importance of the Astana Declaration. At the same time, the high-ranking diplomat regrets that Kazakhstan could not resolve protracted regional conflicts, which it initially set out to do during its OSCE chairmanship. Abdukarimov said that Kazakh authorities were able to prepare for the OSCE summit in Astana in just 3 months, and the rush in the preparations didn't affect it in any way. The Astana Declaration will be truly appreciated within the next several years. We were able to save the OSCE, intensify the debate and the activities of the organization. It would be wrong to blame the Kazakh chairmanship for the entire block of unresolved problems.
More than a half of all Kazakh citizens consider themselves low income, while a third of the population defines their social status as being in desperate need. These are the results of the poll Kazakh Citizens 2010 conducted by the Political Decisions Institute. The data contradicts the official information, which shows the population's level of life steadily increasing over the years.
1/3 of the population is dissatisfied by the social policies of the government, as many people believe the political situation in the country is greatly dependent on corruption and tribalism. The Institute of Political Decisions has also released the annual rating of politicians. Prime Minister Karim Masimov is placed first after a 23% vote of all respondents. Political analysts say that the premier's popularity doesn't necessarily stem from his achievements, but rather from his frequent presence in the media. The second place was given to the Astana mayor Imangalit Asmagambetov, with Foreign Affairs Minister Kanat Saldobayev coming third. In my view, these factors really raise concern among the population, also due to journalists and especially the opposition media, which provides a lot of criticism affecting the public moods. I'm referring, for instance, to the coverage of systematic corruption and nepotism, or various publications about Kulibayev, Doskaliyev, as well as the last census campaign with the follow-up scandals.
The results of another study conducted by the Public Policy Research Center were announced on Tuesday in Semey. Experts spent a year polling residents of the central, southern and eastern Kazakhstan regions to learn the level of the civil society development in the country is less than 50%. Most active citizens live in Astana, while the majority of the rest of the population is more concerned with survival.
The Kazakh civil society is underdeveloped, say analysts from the Civicus Institute. The South African method employed for already 10 years around the world appears to be useless in Kazakhstan. The local population is more concerned about personal gain than anything else. People are busy surviving. This is why they are more interested about the issues of their mentality, like prices, inflation and social security. This year, the government allocated almost $7 million to support the non-governmental sector. However, the public association Pokolenia, the generation, working for years resolving social issues, has not received a penny from the state and now struggles with paying the rent. Advocates of pensioners' rights believe the current system of grants provision is beyond any criticism. None of the public organizations provides budget reports over received grants. We don't read in newspapers what they have done and how they helped the society or assisted in some government program. Another problem of the civil society development is the unwillingness of MPs to communicate with their voters, which in turn results in the absence of feedback, even if citizens come up with very sound proposals. There's no link between the civil society and the authorities. I think that the role of the mediator should be played by the MPs, which is called the representative government. This doesn't happen now. According to sociologists, the level of civil society development in Kazakhstan barely reaches 50%. The actual indicators of the country's position will be announced in a month, when all of the statistical data will be put together.
Loyal National Movement Bolashak held a press conference on Tuesday to present its yearly results in the field of public information, represented with a human rights project. In reality, this appeared to be a set of events to explain the population humanitarian state policies.
We often talk about human rights, but we found out that only 3 primary human rights are violated: the freedom of assembly, organization of rallies and meetings, when any gathering of 2 or 3 people is already considered an unsanctioned rally. At the same time, the speakers at the press conference presented their reports as if they were the results of human rights activities. They said the project in the field of human rights lasted for several months under the auspices of Kazakh OSCE Chairmanship and covered a number of regions including Aktau, Pavlodar, Ekibastuz, Aktobe and others. At the same time, no comments were given about the high-profile cases of political prisoners like Zhovtis, Narymbaev and Yesergepov. The motive of the briefing was revealed almost immediately, as it turned out that young politicians are affiliated with the state. The human rights project in question was actually won during the bidding set by the Culture Ministry, and its primary goal is to explain the message of the president to the population. We won this project through the bidding after applying for 6 different contests. I think everything was objective since all other projects went to Jasatan and the Student Alliance.
Representatives of social NGOs expressed their protest against the bill amending the system of state social procurement. Civil society members believe officials ignored all of their recommendations developed in the last 2 years.
Public activists expressed their dissatisfaction with the underdeveloped bill and their appeals to the chairman of the parliament's lower chamber. Activists believe the new document is directly violating the president's political will on the support of the social sector, the idea voiced during the recent summit in Astana. Officials ignored all parts dealing with the sustainable projects financing and grant distribution mechanisms. We were amazed that the parliament got the ministry's social order for the bill, which omits all of our previously elaborated proposals with the exception of only one suggestion regarding the authorized body. The law on the state procurement was approved back in April 2005. It was immediately clear many of the articles need additional revisions. All experts working group consisting of the MPs and social NGOs representatives was set up in 2008 to come up with the recommendations to eliminate all shortcomings. By November 2010, after the new bill reached the parliament, NGOs representatives reached the conclusion all of this work was nothing but fiction. The same issues are still unresolved. The reference to the state procurement law is back in there. All of the NGO suggestions on prioritizing the quality of the supplier's project proposal over the pricing and the dumping limits. Public activists claim officials focus on low price and not the quality services. This choice could be deadly for many patients and people with disabilities. Astana resident Hawa Goigova constantly encounters problems with medicine for her 6-year-old son. The boy suffers from leukemia and is one of the 700 kids who were infected with hepatitis C while undergoing treatment in the hospital. Parents from regions call me and say they have to interrupt treatment due to the lack of medicine. You don't have to be a doctor or go through this personally to understand this cannot be done, but people are forced to interrupt treatment repeatedly. According to civil sector representatives, the only solution in this situation is to return the bill for additional elaboration. Otherwise, the only positive aspect of the new law will be the ability to set up an authorized body to control state procurement, which will not likely help to patch up all gaps in the legislation.
No Social Democratic Party Azad this year. The specialized Inter-District Economic Court of Astana dismissed the suit of the oppositional party against the Justice Ministry's registration service.
The court explained that the documents submitted by the party do not indicate the term of office for its co-chairman. In addition, the charters of the political organization in Russian and Kazakh contain discrepancies in the description of Azad symbols. It was also revealed during the trial that only the National Social Democratic Party and not Azad submitted the unification application to the Justice Ministry. The court said the formerly united party has the right to eliminate all discrepancies and reapply for the official registration. Interestingly, the Astana party branch agreed with the court in general and attributed the failure to register to the poor legal preparation. Our biggest problem is poor legal support. Without it, we would have half of the work done. Otherwise, one wrong action leads to another, and now we have 4 refusals on our hands.
The financial police is interfering with the trial against businesswoman Meizgul Abdykazimova. On Tuesday, 2 agents of the organization were seen discussing something with members of the state prosecution team. Now Abdykazimova's lawyers seek to disqualify the prosecutor who violated the rules of the procedure. To the surprise of everyone present in the courtroom, the hearing was proclaimed preliminary and therefore closed for public.
The second hearing in the trial against Ms. Gul Abdukazimova, who previously accused the financial police of extortion, took place in Almaty on Tuesday. This time, however, it is the businesswoman who is on the dock charged for bribing an official. Abdukazimova could possibly face 12 years of prison, but the court still has to make a decision over the previously filed motions of Abdukazimova's lawyers. We asked to disqualify the entire Almaty City Prosecution Office because during the 3 months of the investigation, the criminal proceedings were not properly controlled. All 26 appeals filed by Abdukazimova and her defense were groundlessly rejected. They were not even examined. The lawyers of the businesswoman are confident that the financial police have forged 7 volumes of the criminal case, while the City Prosecution Office simply ignored this fact. Proving their claims, the defense showed the court 26 unanswered appeals Abdukazimova filed to the prosecution office. During the process, 2 unidentified people appeared in the lobby and talked to the prosecutor. Abdukazimova's lawyers believe one of them is the head of the investigation team Yergali Sakulov, who actually compiled the indictment.
Surgeon Adil Kildibayev is suing the newspaper Vzгляд for a large amount of money after being fired from his work following the publication of an article exposing his malpractice. The next report has more on the peculiarities of Kazakh justice system.
Surgeon Adil Kildibayev seeks to collect $68,000 in damages from the newspaper Vzгляд, The View, which published an interview with his patient Dmitry Danilov. Supposedly, he was operated by Kildibayev, who had to remove Danilov's gallbladder, but it was revealed later that supposedly missing part was still in place. The doctor says the article led to a scandal in the medical community, which forced him to retire and lose all employment possibilities.
То есть судья вообще не принимает ни один довод.
The judge dismisses all of the arguments. We asked Kildibayev to tell us specific lines from the article that caused dignitary harm, but he couldn't do so. Then we proposed to conduct an expert evaluation which would point to these specific details, but the judge declined. The case looks ridiculous only at the first glance, as the doctor asked for quite a large compensation. In the past, the newspaper already underwent a rigid audit by fiscal authorities, as in late October, tax inspection charged the publication with evading taxes in the amount of $160,000. Back then, the inspectors didn't deduct the expenses. Now, lawyer Sergei Utkin believes that in current circumstances, the course of the criminal investigation might be disrupted, as the case is another part of the authorities' crusade against Kazakhstan's independent mass media. I have the feeling the authorities said it's okay to attack the newspaper and press it for $68,000. In the end, the judge and the doctor might even get some medals for their actions. Freedom of Speech Fund Adil Source supports the newspaper's view, and civil rights advocates are confident the publication is simply being used. When a doctor sued media defending his honor, it is simply disgusting that the judge sided with him without even understanding the matter. Adil Kildibayev, the namesake of the human rights organization, which is translated in English as Justice, says he has his own reasoning. The doctor is insulted by the newspaper ignoring him, which actually doubled the originally asked amount of $34,000. They are ignoring me, not talking to me, or not even taking my course. That is why I was forced to file a lawsuit. Sergei Utkin says the defense asked to disqualify the judge, arguing the trial was biased since the surgeon's brother is a judge of the Almaty Municipal Court. Despite this, the next hearing and the announcement of the verdict was scheduled for December 23rd.
On Tuesday, 10 limousines paraded around Almaty as part of promotion campaign by a wedding magazine aimed at increasing the number of happy marriages as well as the country's birth rates.
The demographic issue will not be solved inside limos. We will keep an eye on that. All of this is very romantic. There are 10 couples inside the limos. The call for a demographic surge was timed to the Independence Day. The motorcade of limos passed along the central streets, while the final destination was the foothills of the Trans-Ili Alatau. The organizers hoped that the event helped participants and unwitting witnesses to learn more about the wedding industry. This allows people to see how it feels to be a bride and a groom, and how it will work out.
This is all for now. Thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow for more. Goodbye.